What up? Hey, you know how we do it, man. You know how we do it, Sean. Bruh, as long as I'm in the studio, oh shit, I almost fell out my chair just now. As long as we're in the studio, we're having a good goddamn day. Yo, so I want to show you like one of the projects I did with the kids today. And I didn't take any pictures this afternoon. I wish I would have took some pictures today, but we did a cool little project. We made some caterpillars out of napkins, or like napkins or paper towel or something. Yeah. Cause I'm a fucking teacher, and I'm about to reach you, and I yeah. Cause I'm a fucking teacher, and I'm about to reach you. Oh man, I gotta find some kind of flow on this beat right here. So this is what we made today, yo. Shit like a caterpillar, right? Y'all get to do the funnest shit with the kids at work, bro. I'm still amazed they pay me to do this shit. So throughout my work day, I'm sitting at my desk and I'm watching YouTube videos and I'm going on websites and I'm trying to find kids crafts and kids STEAM experiments. And then after I find something cool, I get to order all the supplies and I can sit there and I can make shit like this to get ready for the kids. So I'll be sitting at my desk like crafting stuff and people come into the office, they be like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, chill, bro. This is my job. They pay me to do this. This is I get paid to make little shit like this. And all it is paper. It's paper and tape. This is a napkin. That's literally a napkin that you just put some marker on it. This ain't even construction paper. This is just like regular printer paper, like just green printer paper and some tape. A little bit of hot glue. So I did hot glue the caterpillar to the little push rod. But say that don't look like a real caterpillar crawling here. Yo, I don't know why little simple shit like this, but it should have occupied my time for like an hour. I just do this shit, just look at it for like an hour. Like that's pretty cool. Man, so I got a desk now, bro. Hard work pays off, bro. Hard work pays off, motherfucker. Give me a desk, bitch. I ain't walking around all this motherfucker, please. Information technologies is what I do now. I'm saying I work with my mind, my brain. I use my intelligence. I don't use my back. No more. I got a back. It's back there. It's right behind me, but I don't use that shit. I keep my back in the back. I keep my mind in the front. I work with my mind. I remember I was working for this company one time. We were on the job site. It was a bank. And they were getting their executive offices redone. So we're in there pulling up carpet and patching drywall and hanging new drywall and doing all kind of shit. So we just in there working. And then like the foreman comes in and he looks, there's like 5 of us in there. He's like, I need 2 guys to come with me to another job. You got something to do real quick. He said, I need 2 guys with a strong back and a weak mind. We gotta go somewhere and do something else. He's like, he pointed at some white dude and he pointed at me. He's like, y'all 2, come with me. I'm like, I ain't cut out for this job. He had a puzzled look. He was like, what do you mean? He said you need a strong back and a weak mind. I said, I'm the opposite. I got a weak back and a strong mind. He just looked at me. He was like, come on, man, let's go do this job. Yeah, don't fucking try to play me like that, bro. I need 2 people with a strong back and a weak mind. Right then I knew I gotta get out of this field. It's for some people, it ain't for me though. It took me fucking another 10 years to get out of that field, but that was the second time in the whole time I ever worked in construction and all that shit that motherfuckers really rubbed me the wrong way. I had a motherfucker call me a nigga on a job site one time. And it was weird because it was a joke and I thought the guy was pretty cool because he gave me stuff before, like gave me shit. One time this motherfucker gave me an ounce of weed, gave it to me. Let me have it for free. So I thought he was an alright motherfucker, man. I thought this motherfucker was alright. Then we on the job site one day, and we had an apartment complex. We painting the steps to the apartment. And so the steps are like metal frame steps. They got like a cement layer inside the step itself. So we're just going back, redoing the middle work. And me and this one guy, we're at one building, and the 2 other guys, they're at another building, they paint the steps. And then, I don't know if they got finished first or whatever, but the 2 other guys, they came over to where me and the other dude was working. And I'm at the bottom of the steps, on the first level, painting the steps, and they just standing up there talking. And then another motherfucker walk up, another guy on the crew walk up. Because we all was painting steps that day. That's the only thing we had to do today was paint all the fucking steps. And so while I'm painting, they stand up, they smoking a cigarette, and the motherfucker said he was talking to the guy who just walked up, and he made a joke. He was like, you know the easiest way to get these steps painted? And the dude was like, no, what is it? He was like, you get 2 niggers like this to do it for you. And point at me. And I'm like, what the fuck? And he just started laughing. He's like, ha, ha. I finished that one step I was doing. I finished that shit. I put my brush in the paint bucket, and I just stood up, and I just looked at him. I ain't even say shit. I just had to walk away for a minute. I walked, to another building by myself, really, just smoke a cigarette. I didn't even know how to process this shit. I wanted to cuss his ass out or some shit, but I just know, they certain people you not gonna get through to. You just not, no matter what you say. And I honestly believe to him it was just a joke. Me, that shit wasn't no joke, bro. That was the first time that I realized this shit ain't, I'm not cut out for this type of shit. And then the second time was when that motherfucker said he wanted somebody with a strong back and a weak mind. I was like, look, man, I'm so good on all this shit, bro. It's never a person on the right. I feel you. But honestly, I've only ever been called nigga like that twice in my life, and then one time a motherfucker called me a boy, but the way he said it, he was just too scared to say nigga. That's what he meant when he said boy. You can hear it all in the tone. He's like, "You heard what I said, boy?" And we was on the job then. I was working in the factory. Look, this motherfucker said, "Boy, boy." This was 10 years ago. But hell, 10 years ago I was still grown as fuck. Now you not about to call me no fucking boy. Like, look, man. You know what, motherfucker? I'm gonna go to HR. That's what I'm gonna do. Cause they be wanting you to act out. I have never acted out. When a motherfucker call me some shit like that, I never act out. Cause that's what they expect. I'm about to crush all your hopes and dreams. You like calling black people a nigga. That shit ain't about to affect me the way you think it will. Cause it really don't. It just frustrates me that you so fucking ignorant and stupid and mean. But I'm not about to react like no fucking savage animal and start foaming from the mouth and trying to call you every slur or derogatory term. Pole bucker, pink toe, cracker, honky. Like, all right, I ain't gotta come at you with none of that shit. You know what? I'm gonna go talk to HR. Mm-hmm. You heard me, boy? Nah, I'm good. I'm good. And then I had one cool white boy that was working at the factory with me, and he cool. He listened to rap, and he dressed hip hop, and he got a black girlfriend. Well, I think he had a mixed girlfriend, and he sell weed, and he live in the hood, and he was like, "Yeah, my nigga," and then the first time I heard him say it, I didn't react to it. Like I really don't be reacting to the shit because I'm trying to be empathetic and put myself in your shoes. So you think it's cool because the way you grew up, the way you live your life, the environment you're in, you probably have other black friends who are cool with you saying that. And so the first time I heard it, we weren't even at work. It was outside of work. Gotta say, the motherfucker sold weed and shit. So once I figured that out, the first time I hit him up outside of work and met him outside of work for the first time, just chat with him a minute, trying to figure this motherfucker out, know a little bit. And we just chat, yo, this and that. He's like, yeah, my nigga, da 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 da. What? And he not mixed us, not he just straight white boy. So I let it slide, and then we was at work. After that time, we made a little deal, and so now we at work. So now he think we cool and we homies. So he try to talk a little bit more, blah 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 blah. And then like the second time I heard him, we was at work, and I let that shit slide. And then the third time he said that shit, I was like, yo, come here, come here. Look, I don't want you to say nigga around me no more. No more at all. I don't like it. I don't like when you say, and then he went into like a 1 or 2 minute spiel about the same thing. I know what he was gonna say. Man, you know, bro, that's how the fuck I grew up. I'm from the fucking hood, bro. Man, all my friends, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck, nigga. I don't give a fuck. Around me, you don't say that shit, especially at work. If I hear you say it again, I'm gonna get you fired. If I hear you say it again, you will lose this fucking job. You not about to be around me all day just saying nigga. I don't like it. And you know what? That motherfucker ain't never say that shit again. Not around me. And I still spent money with him a couple of times after that. And outside of work, he still knew. Like, bro, don't say that shit around me. And then we went into this whole little back and forth, and I explained that shit to him. Why? You know, it's the simple fact that every ethnic group has a derogatory term. Everybody call everybody something. I don't give a fuck if you're a Indian or a Native American or a Mexican or if you're Polish or if you're German or if you're African or whatever the fuck you are. If you're an Eskimo, everybody has derogatory terms for an ethnicity. African Americans, we're the only group of people who have taken our main derogatory term and we own that shit now. And we've changed the spelling, we've changed the meaning, we've changed the connotation. And so we can use this word very flexibly because that's what we've done. We have been so creative about our own disposition and what others call us in a negative turn that we took that shit and we flipped it and we reversed it, and now that shit cool for us to say that shit. And I said, when a white person makes the word cracker cool, then you can say nigga. When a Spanish or a Mexican person makes beaner or wetback, when y'all make that shit cool, then you can say nigga. Until y'all do what the fuck we did with our word, y'all can't use that shit. Don't be hating on us because it sounds cool when we say that shit. Yo, what up, my nigga? And you know exactly what it mean when I say what up, my nigga, or if I say, yo, what's up, nigga? And just in the reflection in your voice, you automatically know it went from the meaning went from friend, now the meaning is enemy. It's a complete opposite. And it's only the inflection in your voice, the tone in which you say it, and it's too complete. And we've done that. We were able to do that. Nobody else has done that. They can't do it. So don't use our fucking word. Don't use that shit. That's our shit now. We own that shit now. We made it cool to be a nigga. Cause that's my nigga and that's my nigga. But I'll fuck that nigga up. And I don't like that nigga. Simple as that. You know what I mean? It's shit like that. Motherfuckers can't make words like we do, bro. They can't. Yasta mean, yada mean, fixing to fun. Like, man, motherfuckers can't make words like my nigga. I'm finna go to the store. Yada mean? Bruh, niggas can't do that. Nobody else can't do that. We too slick. We too smooth and too creative with that shit. Don't take my shit, man. That's my word now. You made nigger. We made nigga. You can't say nigga. It's too cool of a word. That shit is too perfect. It's too perfect. Cause I don't know that nigga. And yo, I love my nigga. It's two different things. I don't know that nigga. That's a complete stranger. I love my nigga. That's my best friend. And for a while, I didn't want to use the word, but man, you know what I'm saying? That's our shit, bro. And that's what I told him, too. Like, I had to break that shit down. Like, bro, you make cracker sound cool. When you do that, when y'all go around like, yo, what's up, my cracker? What's up, cracker? Why? Because that shit don't sound the way we make it sound. You know that. Even Spanish people, and Spanish people got a lot of cool motherfucking trends and shit. But even y'all, nigga, y'all don't be just calling each other beaners and wetbacks. Cause that shit don't sound cool like my nigga. It just don't. Innovative and charismatic. You know what I'm saying? Especially when Snoop came out with that Izzle Shizzle Nizzle. Yo, you can't fuck with the way we talk, man. You can't fuck with the way we talk. It's just because I can speak completely proper and enunciate every syllable in every word. I don't like doing that shit because I can just goddamn flow that shit from my tongue and still sound perfectly legible so motherfuckers understand what I'm saying. Understand me? But, you know, other people can't do that shit. Nobody can really do that shit the way we do that shit. So don't use our words. Simple as that. And then when people are like, well, why do you say it? Because look what we've done to the word. Look how creative the word is. Well, why can't I use it? Because you haven't done it. You haven't done that with another word. And I wish I knew the first niggas who sat around and did that shit like, fuck that nigga. You know what I'm saying? I wish who did that? Who did that? When did that become culturally acceptable for us? Because I can see like in the 60s with X and King, I can't imagine like when Martin Luther King met Malcolm X for the first time, it was like, yo, what's up, my nigga? You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't cool. It wasn't cool right then. It wasn't cool. So did NWA make it cool? Like who made it cool, bro? Like when did we phase it in there and like really take hold to that shit? And like I said, it had to be amongst a group of people before it ever became popular enough to be mentioned in literature, poetry, music, film, or television. You know what I'm saying? Like I say, some of the earliest gangster rap was already using it, but it had to be a part of the vernacular for a substantial amount of time before they threw it into the music. So did it start in the South? Did it start in the Northeast, on the West Coast? Like, I really do wonder, like, what little neighborhood motherfuckers just like, yo, what's good, my nigga? Yo, my nigga. Crack. Hey, who started that shit, yo? I ain't gonna lie, yo. I drunk a tall boy can of beer on the ride home from work this afternoon. Yo, them kids had me wore out today. I ain't gonna lie. Now, I got pissed bad as hell. Let me take a bathroom break. I'm gonna try to paint for a minute. I might not. I don't know. Yeah, 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 yeah. You can't say the N-word. 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 N-I-G-G-A. That's my shit. That's the topic. And it's some hot shit. Because you can't switch your vernacular to make cool like we did. So take a sample of how we do this. Yeah, and just move this. But you can't use it the way that we did. So when I say my nigga, fuck that nigga. That shit fight nigga. That nigga else. You can't say the N-word. You can't say the N-word. Do you ever wanna give, but you want it back? Back, 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 back. Back, back. Wanna give, but you hold them back, back, back. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Alright, we gonna paint for like a minute. What time is it? It's 5:14. Calm down, calm down. Yo, that shit sounds so good. Somebody says America loves everything about black culture except black people. It's the weirdest conundrum, bro. Yeah, they love everything we make. They just don't like us. It's so weird. And you know something? It's the first time I'm gonna say it out loud. But if you and see, I don't watch television. I watch a lot of YouTube though. I don't have cable, so I can't like watch cable television. But even on YouTube, there's a lot of commercials. If you're on YouTube long enough, just let some of the commercials play, bro. 90% of the commercials have like hip hop beats or samples from hip hop songs. Like Dell Computers has a sample of, I don't know if it's Future or whoever, but it's a computer advertisement. Why y'all got a motherfucker rapping like some, and this is a song about shaking your ass and dropping your ass. Go ahead, break it down real low. Bring it back for me one time. Let me see you go or something like. You talking about breaking it down low and throwing it back? in a MacBook commercial, and then there's like some kind of advertisement for like golfing gear that has like an old Nas beat or something. I'm like, why is y'all using all this hip hop and rap to advertise y'all products and shit? It's the weirdest thing now, bro. Like, even in most advertisements, I'm just seeing like, it might just be me. It might just, I don't know. You know, I'm about to put the theory to the test. I'm gonna go to YouTube. Let's just find whatever to listen to on YouTube, and see. Or is that just because they can tailor advertisements so well that that's the only advertisements that I see because they just assume I'm so in love with hip hop? State of Decay 2 update. Well, here's a 19-minute Russell Brand video. In 19 minutes, there might be like 2 or 3 commercials. Maybe. Let's just check this out. And this may be the entire time that I paint. It's so weird now how my Tuesdays and Thursdays are. It just throws me off so bad because normally at this time I would, and sometimes I'll push it to 6 o'clock, but normally like right now I'll be kind of getting ready to wrap up. You know, if I can get in the studio 3:30 and paint till about 5 or 5:30. But now it's like I'm not even getting in the studio until like 4 or 5 o'clock. I don't know, it just feels different. I hate. I guess I'm a creature of habit. I really do like my routine, and my routine has been the absolute same for 3 years, almost 4 years now. I've had the exact same routine, and now this shit has to change. I don't know, but I'm still getting up at the same time in the morning. So I'm still getting up at 10 minutes after 4 and going to the gym. But since I'm staying later at work, I go in later, which that throws me off in the morning. Because normally I eat breakfast at work. I'll just, pack a breakfast and take it with me. But now I have enough time to eat breakfast in the morning, and I be forgetting that sometimes. And so this morning I forgot to eat my breakfast because I don't know, I just was just sitting around and shit. Hey, what the fuck? I got an extra hour in the morning to do what? I was like, I don't know what to do with this extra hour, so I just started doing laundry. Like, well, I guess I can put some clothes in the wash, or I don't know. Oh man, good thing I came up here because I did not clean this brush out yesterday. I'm starting to do this too much and too often. My mind is slipping sometimes. I'm so forgetful about so much stuff that it's actually scary. Honestly. Just fucked this brush up, and this was a new one. God damn it. Amateur shit. Amateur hour at the trap house. Alright, let's see.
Yay, Canada? Hello there.
It's not just you.
6.6 million
Okay, I was just wondering, bro. Because I know, like,
1.6 million awakening.
I know, like, sometimes we get so deep into it that everything seems like it's something. Everything seems like it's something. And then sometimes it don't be. Honestly. It don't be something all the time. Motherfucker just be making connections out of nowhere. But then sometimes it really do. You know what? What's that? Damn, that made me think of the song just now. Cause I swear to God, like, I be thinking that, and then I heard Prodigy say that shit too.
Illuminati, everything not an evil plot. Everything not Illuminati, everything not an evil plot. Everything not the black boule. Sometimes people just get shot, caught up in the random act of violence. Murder over dumb shit. Everything is not connected. Some things are, but you bugging. You taking it too far.
He says everything not connected. Some things are, but you bugging. You just taking it too far. You know what I'm saying? Hey, that's how I be thinking sometimes. Like, yo, that might be something. And then it, you know, honestly, it just don't be shit. you just bugging. But then I don't know. Something about advertisements lately that they definitely use a lot of hip hop stuff. And so then you start reading into like beats per minute and frequencies and shit. And so how they get, I mean, advertising is basically like psychology. They're trying to manipulate your mind to want and desire their product enough that you actually go buy that shit. So it's all about manipulating the consciousness and the psyche of all individuals. And hip hop is a great tool for that shit because they figured out, you know, the perfect beats per minute to get you in the fucking zone in a little trance, basically to hypnotize your ass.
On Rumble, hello there, you awakening revolutionaries wherever you may be. Thank you for realizing that we are in a new epoch. Plainly, truth is coming out. Plainly, new revelations are being made. Plainly, we are at some sort of biblical apocalyptic time where pastors are put in prison by the Canadian government and neo-Nazis, well not neo-Nazis actually, original Nazis are celebrated literally in Canadian Parliament. So, where is the truth? Where is the justice? Can you trust the system? Let's get into it. And isn't it curious how those that claim to be representing people that are suffering, the vulnerable, appear to be the most authoritarian, dictatorial, deceptive and deceitful of them all? Let's look at this story in Canada and see if it can be applied to other global situations that we're experiencing. Remember, we need you to follow us now. That's how you do it. There's the details. And if you can support us, we need your support. And I can't promise your bank account won't be frozen. I wish I could. If you're in Canada, it probably will be. Let's get into this story.
Calgary pastor Artur Pawlowski has been sentenced to 60 days in jail.
Nothing like a pastor being arrested in the middle of the road by policemen wearing masks to tell you that democracy and the system are thoroughly healthy.
For his role in protests against COVID-19 public health measures. Pawlowski was found guilty of mischief and breaching a release order.
Mischief?
Isn't that like what Bart Simpson and Dennis the Menace and adorable scamps throughout time have done?
No vulgarity, no mischief, no politics.
This is for the spirit of play, for questioning the difference between right and wrong, and for standing up for what you believe in. 20 years. This is the key, by the way.
Back in May, in connection to the demonstrations, which blocked Alberta's main Canada-U.S. border crossing at Coutts. During the trial, prosecutors said Pawlowski's impassioned speech.
How dare you? How dare you use passion? This is Canada. Oh, sorry. Let me neuter that right down.
Pawlowski's impassioned speech to truckers fanned the flames of unrest and convinced them to stay longer.
We're at a curious point, aren't we, where now, a few years down the line, it seems that many of the questions around coronavirus and the way that it was handled, particularly by authoritative and, I would say, proactive or interventionist governments, is up for inquiry. Did lockdowns work? Did masks work? How effective were vaccines? These are all just questions that you might, if you're not in Canada, think about in the privacy of your own home. For now, because it looks like what the Canadians are actually looking to introduce is sort of thought crime laws. I don't think a boot that. Sorry for the cheap boot joke, but you know, it is Canada, and I'm not there at the moment, so.
I always said to the government officials, leave me alone. Please leave me alone. Let me do what I'm good at, which is feeding the poor, preaching the gospel, and just being a church.
Preaching the gospel, feeding the poor, and going to church. Is that key?
You don't have to come and listen to me. However, let me do my job. And that's what I did in the past 3 years. I did my job. I am a shepherd. I stood by hurting people. I did my best. You don't have to like it.
You actually do have to like it. It's a new law. It's now the law in Canada that you have to like it. What an extraordinary situation where someone who dedicates their life to spirituality, to truth, to the exploration of meaning, to supporting a community, standing up for their own rights. And remember, we now know that on average, Canadian truckers were more vaccinated than the average Canadian population member per capita. You know, there's data on that. You know, follow the science, as they say. So we know that it's not that they were particularly anti-vaccine, they were just particularly pro-freedom. Now, one of the macro arguments we are making to you on our channel right now is that ideas around safety and convenience and security are being mobilized to shut down your liberty. But what was once regarded as the ordinary right of the average citizen is become like privacy or private belief. All these things, they're going fast. The ability to communicate, the ability to question, all of these things are being shut down radically. I'm almost glad of a situation where street preachers are being banged up in Canadian Nick. 60 days that dude got, and they wanted him to have 10 months. They wanted him to have 10 months. And just bear in mind that this is taking place in the same sort of time frame as a Nazi being applauded in Parliament. You might think, oh, that was just a spurious error. No, it wasn't. They are so keen to live in a projected reality that actual reality doesn't matter. There is the conjured media maelstrom of reality, then there is actual reality. That is why we have to find a deep connection within ourselves to a kind of absolute truth, to absolute values, to absolute principles, because they ain't got any.
Back in May, Pawlowski was found guilty of mischief and breaching a release order.
I can't get past that mischief is like, that's a crime now? Like, when is all this laws being introduced?
You've had quite enough of your evil mischief.
Mischief, skullduggery, tomfoolery, and hijinks. 20 years.
Bart, the record of your mischief is staggering.
Prosecutors said to the court that Pawlowski's speech at the border
I won't have your hand up at that angle. If I was you and giving a speech, mate, you might get all of Parliament applauding you.
convinced the protesters to stay longer and to, quote, hold the line.
Like I said, I should never be arrested. I should never be charged with an offense.
Martin Luther King was a preacher. Malcolm X was essentially a sort of imam. People that have strong religious conviction will apply their religious conviction to social situations because they've not been individualized, materialized, brought low, reduced, told there's no hope and there's no way. Because this person is a man of God and sees spirituality as being more valuable than sort of the set of values that a culture just comes up with off the...
What's the dress code at the office? Because our shit is like casual, like fairly casual. Like I wear sneakers today, but I had slacks and like a polo shirt, and they weren't like sneaker. I wear some K-Swiss, like casual shoes, I guess. I don't know. But most of the time I wear shoes and slacks to work. But my other homie, he do like he got some kind of office job. This motherfucker be going there with jeans and Jordans and Timberlands on. Like, that's how you dress at work. He was like, yeah, nigga. Like, he could leave work and go straight to the club if he wanted to. But he got a desk job too. I'm like, what the fuck? But we do have like a dress policy where it's like I can't wear shorts to work, and no hats in the building, and it has a couple things for the women. It's so weird, like a thong sandal. Like, they don't want you wearing those to work. I don't know if it's because I don't know the difference in a thong sandal and a normal sandal that like goes all the way across your foot. Because when you walk, that shit's still gonna flap and make noise. That's the only thing I don't like about sandals in the office. Every time you walk around, you hear that fucking all that flapping shit. Bitch, go put some shoes on, man. I want to hear your goddamn your feet flapping everywhere you walk. And I think, okay, the ladies is no thong sandals, and something like leggings. It said something about like yoga pants or leggings or like extremely tight pants or something like that, and like no jeans is a policy. Like we can't. I can't just wear jeans to work. I got in trouble yesterday too. 'Cause I stole some paper from a different team. I didn't really steal it. I took paper. I was gonna give it back. That's the only thing that got me. Like, so I did take like a whole pack of paper, but that pack of paper had like 1,000 sheets in it. So I took that shit from like this one supply cabinet that's not my cabinet, and but I only used like because it wasn't the paper wasn't even open. It was a brand new pack of paper, with like 1,000 sheets in that bitch. But I only used like 25 sheets of paper. And the only thing is though, I forgot to put the rest of the paper back in the supply cabinet before I left for work. And on Mondays, once again, because my schedule is so weird now, so on Mondays I leave earlier because I stay later on Tuesdays. And so somebody from that other team, I guess they went looking for the paper and didn't find it, and then put out an email to the entire office saying, "Oh, somebody stole our paper. We really need that back. We use that paper all the time." So then my boss texted me. Like I said, I was already home, and my boss texted me. She was like, "Did you take some paper from the IY supply cabinet?" And I was like, "Yeah." Why they mad about that shit? She was like, "Oh my god, read your emails." And I was like, "Oh, don't tell me they put an email out about that shit. Trying to hunt down some fucking paper, bitch." Like I took that shit home with me or something. That shit was still downstairs in the office. Like all you gotta do is go downstairs and you would have saw that shit. That shit was kind of corny. But
and then makes the actual law. These people like you, people like me, that have actual values, that believe in redemption, salvation, believe in change, believe in changing the system, believe in changing the self, believe in moving forward, believe in beauty and grace and truth. They are a threat. You are a threat. Your freedom is their problem. Plainly, look.
I was there in the capacity of a pastor.
For Rich City News, I'm Micah Quinn.
Let's have a look, though, at what else is going on in Canada, just to make sure that the imprisonment of a pastor isn't some anomalous outlier. We first became interested in what was going on in Canada because in spite of his appearances and, let's face it, lovely haircut, Justin Trudeau doesn't appear to be that interested in freedom, the rhetoric of freedom. Yes, but the sort of authoritarianism and emergency law-evoking kind of capacities of people that are more traditionally associated with tyranny. But tyranny in Canada is not always bad, even the worst example of tyranny in human history, the Nazis. Last week, the Canadian House of Commons Speaker Anthony Rota invited a 98-year-old man named Yaroslav Hunka to attend a speech by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Rota called Hunka a Canadian hero, and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau cheered for Hunka alongside lawmakers. They were willing to do that just because they just didn't understand the facts and they hadn't looked into them properly. In a spiritually evolved society, the possibility of redemption and absolution for a Nazi would be something you consider if you read, for example, Viktor Frankl's seminal work on his experiences in concentration camps, Man and His Search for Meaning. Then you'd be aware that the travesty and murders and genocide of the Second World War oddly provided an opportunity for change. But that's not the culture that's being evoked or invited in Canada, a culture of like where we really try to understand reality, morality, truth, spirituality. What they want is just to mobilise and utilise particular narratives that can legitimise authoritarianism and control. You'll never see them advocating for a story where it's like, oh yes, I suppose actually we should just let people do what they want, and why don't we give people a vote on whether they want that or not, and maybe for the next, if there's going to be another lockdown, people can vote on it, and maybe we can let the truckers decide. They're never going to come to those conclusions. It's always going to be, you know that pastor, put him in prison, because that is control. Control. Bear in mind, learn to observe, learn to watch. I know that you're doing it because I read the comments, I read the chat, I know that you're further along than me, many of you. Let's ensure that we keep doing that together, eh? In response, Rota took full responsibility for the incident, and Trudeau called it deeply embarrassing. Trudeau then warned against Russian propaganda and Russian disinformation, because he's just saying stuff now. Yeah, you know, we applauded some Nazis because of Russian disinformation, actually. Is it not Canadian disinformation to celebrate a Nazi? You could say that. Are you Russian? We can't keep bringing you inspiring, groundbreaking, anti-authoritarian, anti-totalitarian content like we do without our partners and sponsors. And this week, once again, we've teamed up with, you guessed it, Sticker Mule to create this limited edition sticker pack. Look at these delicious stickers. There are 6 stunning designs, including this guy. They're only available in this pack, and they're all made with Sticker Mule's magic touch. Sticker Mule has 10,000 of these packs. That's right, 10,000. Ready to deliver to you absolutely free. Just go to stickermule.com/Russell and fill out the form. It's perfectly easy. Stickermule.com/Russell. Fill out a form, then you're just going to have some stickers, all right? Isn't that better than where you were prior to the arrival? Yes, it is better. And this is how we're able to continue to bring you radical content that challenges the system, like we're doing right now. Get over there, stickermule.com/Russell.
If you would have read the email, you know
right.
what?
Trudeau's non-apology and
just email is stupid. And then the word, the way she started it off, I was like, woo, okay. But once again, I don't think she knew who took the paper initially. But somebody did ask if I had the paper. It starts out, hi all. I'm sending out an APB on missing copy paper from the IY cabinet. It is an unopened ream of neon green copy paper that we use for our classes. Please be on the lookout for it. We are in need of it! Exclamation mark. Thank you! Exclamation mark. An APB on copy paper? Please be on the lookout for it. Why is this like some murder mystery? And that shit went out to the whole office. Bitch, calm down. Calm your ass down. Yeah, the email is silly. Now I feel like I need a war.
This sort of criticism as Russian disinformation is especially hypocritical given his repeated denunciation of the Canadian Freedom Convoy as a Nazi-linked movement. Because the truckers' grievances were legitimate, and over the years seem increasingly legitimate, because the actions against them were pretty draconian and extreme, emergency laws, freezing bank accounts, not allowing people to fund them, throwing people in prison that gave speeches, you have to find a way to legitimise that. You have to reverse engineer it. What would make it legitimate to do that? If they were Nazis? Yeah, but they're... Oh, if they were Nazis. Yeah. Anyway, we've got this guy over from Ukraine who you're all going to love. Hooray! What do you do in the war again? I don't know, but apparently he got a lot done. About the truckers, Trudeau said, we are seeing activity that is a threat to our democracy. It's a threat to your democracy. Your democracy is not a democracy. And it's undermining the public's trust in our institutions. Quite rightly, Trudeau one day later compared the truckers to Nazis and American racial segregationists. It's so disgusting, isn't it? Like, what the hell does it have to do with racial ideology, the freedom of movement, the rights for workers to unite? How is that even connected? Isn't it more likely, here's a hypothesis, that it's got nothing to do with that, and they retrospectively apply that in order to disempower that movement? What do you think's more likely, looking at the facts? Conservative Party members can stand with people who wave swastikas, he said. They can stand with people who wave the Confederate flag. I prefer to just out and out applaud Nazis. Bring them in from the cold and clap at them up in a gallery. Straight for it. Not their signs or their monikers, the Nazis themselves. It should not have to be said, but it does. Trudeau had zero evidence then, and none today, that the truckers were racist or Nazis. Zero evidence. The swastikas printed on flags at the convoy were not hate symbols, they were intended as criticism of the government's overreach for a comparison to Nazi Germany. Yet Trudeau condemned a Jewish member of parliament for being sympathetic to the convoy and for supporting people who wave swastikas. Trudeau's colleagues participated in his conspiracy theory. One Liberal MP said that truckers' honk honk slogan was a coded message for Heil Hitler. There was never any evidence for this then or now. Isn't it more likely that at a trucker protest, where there's likely to be trucks, and you're on a road, and people have got horns, that it might mean honk your horn in support of the truckers? That well-established form of showing solidarity? But I suppose that's not Nazi enough, is it? So if we could just, Hail Hitler. Yes, we could undermine their entire campaign with this. And meanwhile, let's get this guy over from Ukraine. Good work. He was very busy. Apparently in the 30s and 40s he got a lot done. As such, Trudeau was spreading disinformation. Naturally, Trudeau has for the last 3 years been accusing others of spreading disinformation and demanding that social media companies like Facebook and Twitter censor the people who disagree with him. The problem with you lot is you celebrate misinformation, and you also celebrate Nazis. What about you with that Nazi? That is Russian disinformation. Canada's political troubles may seem trivial and unimportant. The country is not a significant military power. It has fewer people than California. Its economy is the 9th in the world. California is the 4th. Trudeau has just been engaging in the usual progressive rhetoric of accusing his opponents of being Nazis, something both sides do, as the controversy over last Friday's applauding showed. But Trudeau is important, and what he's doing in Canada should terrify everyone in the Western world who cares about being free from government tyranny, censorship and disinformation. That's because Trudeau is pioneering a new way for governments to take control over the information environment, spreading disinformation and demanding censorship that is similar but different to efforts we're seeing in places like California, Australia and New Zealand. Former and current colonial powers appear to have relationships with some of the nations they helped to establish, i.e. the countries listed just then, where piloting ideas that would seem likely to engender resistance in countries like the United States or the UK, or seem more pronounced and more dangerous, appear to be able to be practiced there. Notice that during the coronavirus period, Australia set up, I think I'm right in saying, internment camps. Notice that Canada is very assertive and progressive with authoritarianism, with the disinformation being described in this article. It seems to be that because these countries, because of a shared tongue with significantly your country, the United States of America, are being used to normalise ideas and to introduce ideas that elsewise we might be reluctant to accept. Let me know if you agree with that. Let me know if you think that Canada, Australia, New Zealand, maybe even the UK to a degree, we're no longer a superpower, we're essentially ancillary to the United States of America, are being used to pilot ideas, normal ideas, so that they can become ubiquitous. Let me know in the chat in the comments if you agree with that. People across the Western world were rightly alarmed when Trudeau last year invoked for the first time in Canadian history the Emergency Measures Act and froze bank accounts of people who had simply donated to the truckers' cause. It was brazen thuggery that Trudeau justified by calling ordinary Canadians Nazis and racists. If you call someone a Nazi or a racist, whatever you do is permissible. It seems to me that's how this particular play works. Trudeau's crackdown on the Freedom Convoy protesters was followed by efforts to regulate and control the internet. His Online Streaming Act and Online News Act gave the government expansive new powers to regulate what happens and what you see online. So it's about control, isn't it? Like the Online UK Safety Bill here in the UK. Do they want to protect you or do they want to control you? Do they want to help you or do they want to control the access to information that you receive? Just have a look and decide for yourself. You'll be able to work it out. Are there any global trends? Do there seem to be laws being passed all over the world? Does there seem to be a process of vilification, shutting down of dissent, shutting down of dissidents, vilifying people that disobey and stand up and oppose authority? You can observe all of that for yourself. You don't need me or anyone else to tell you. You let me know in the chat. The atmosphere created by Trudeau and his party is completely upending Canadian society, leading to the persecution of his detractors and limiting speech and expression. Earlier this month, a Liberal judge in Calgary sentenced a Christian pastor to 2 months in jail for what he said during a 20-minute speech to the Truckers' Freedom Convoy. The College of Psychologists of Ontario recently ordered conservative psychologist Jordan Peterson to undergo social media training because they believed his tweets and opinions were problematic. An Ontario court then upheld the college's decision. So it began in academia, it began as a cultural phenomenon, and it's ended up in the judiciary. The judiciary imposing measures on Jordan Peterson. You have the right to agree with or disagree with Jordan Peterson. You know I have a friendship with Jordan Peterson. He's my friend. And I disagree with him, as I'm sure he disagrees with me on many issues. What I don't disagree with is his right to freely communicate and essentially have a set of values that seem to me to be based in pretty thorough research. And I've had arguments with Jordan Peterson about some of the matters where I disagree with him, and it seems that that's not actually affected our friendship. But what is clear is what's going on in Canada is anything but dull. It's terrifying. In looking to defend minorities and promote culture, Trudeau's Liberals are everything they once feared. They are authoritarian, anti-democratic and illiberal. I think what happens is inept politicians that are kind of like pop star poster boy politicians that kind of look nice or sort of scene appropriate are kind of groomed and ushered through the system, and they don't actually, this is my view, my personal view, understand politics that well, and they're able to be manipulated by people who understand things a lot better than they do. And they don't notice that all of a sudden they're saying things like, I admire China, yeah, we should shut down their bank accounts, yeah, let's invoke the Emergency Act, those truckers are Nazis, because they're not grounded in the kind of ideals that, for example, that pastor is, who's like, I'm willing to get arrested for what I believe in, I'm willing to die for what I believe in. Those kind of values, even that kind of mindset, having a community that you care about, having people that you love, having values and principles that go beyond materialism, is being eroded because Well, you know, why? Because we're living in sort of cellular, atomic little realities where the best we can hope for is just some sort of quick hit of purchase. We've been distracted and disconnected from God. And you have to wonder whether Jordan Peterson is a problem, not because of his views on identity and identity politics, or because he has a deep reverence for meaning and passion and standing up for what you believe in. What do you think, based on what you're learning about Canada here, think is more of a threat to the Canadian system? Do you think it's like they're fretting all day, oh no, we really want to help people on their identity issues? Or do you think they want control? Because look at the legislation that's been introduced. What does it seem to be augured and directed towards? And what's happening in Canada is not separate from what's happening in the US, the UK, Europe and Brazil, but intimately connected to those nations. That's what globalism means. There is a kind of a global tide rising. There is authoritarianism, centralism. There are connections between laws in the countries just listed there that sort of don't make sense. Where are they coming from? Whose ideas are they? What happened during the pandemic? Where did those decisions get made? What happened in anomalous nations like Sweden that took a different path? Did they have a lot more deaths? Oh no, less deaths. This is extraordinary. Where do these edicts come from? If they're not grounded in data, in real verifiable facts, then it's an agenda, then it's an ideology, then it's globalism. We're going to have to leave it there. The rest of this video is equally as funny. We need you to follow us on Rumble. Click the link in the description to see this video in full, and if it's within your means, support our community. Become a member. You get access to all sorts of additional stuff, and believe me, we need to build this movement together. Without you, we're nothing. Stay free.
The Gaudi 2 deep learning processor was built from the ground up for high-performance deep learning training and inference workloads, including multi-billion parameter generative AI and large language models like GPT-3, Bloom, DALL-E, Stable Diffusion, and more. Gaudi 2 offers more training and inferencing for less to stretch deep learning capacity and lower total cost of ownership. According to independent evaluations by Hugging Face, Gaudi 2 speed is about twice NVIDIA's A100 for both training and inference, 2.4 times faster for fine-tuning of the 3 billion parameter T5, 23% faster inferencing the 176 billion parameter Bloom Z, and 3 times faster on 7 billion parameter Bloom Z. And Gaudi 2 offers substantial power per performance advantage that's roughly twice that of A100. How does Gaudi 2 outperform A100? It's architected specifically.
Trump, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Thank you.
I want to dive right into this, a lot to get to.
Good.
There are a number of things that make your campaign unprecedented. You are the first former president to run for re-election in more than 100 years. You are facing 4 indictments. You have an incredibly significant lead in the GOP primary polls. But I want to ask you this, Mr. President. Why do you want to be president again?
Well, it's a very simple answer, and I can give it very easily. It's called Make America Great Again. Our country is in serious trouble. I don't think we've ever been so low in terms of certainly opinion, world opinion, and country opinion. People are devastated. They look at what's happening with millions of people coming in, millions of illegal immigrants coming into our country, flooding our cities, flooding the countryside. I think the number is going to be 15 million people by the time you end this. By the end of this year, I think the real number is going to be 15 million people. They come from prisons. They come from mental institutions, insane asylums. They say, sir, please don't use that term, but it's true. They're terrorists at a level. It was very interesting. On NBC, I saw a poll, and I saw some statistics, and it said in 2019, there were no terrorists. They caught no terrorists. There was nothing that they saw. There was no anything. And now, this year, it's a record number like they've never seen before. So we did a great job at the border. We did a great job with the military. We did a great job with inflation. We had essentially no inflation. We had a great economy. And we didn't have an Afghanistan disaster. We were getting out, but we were going to get out with dignity and pride, not the way they got out. That was a surrender and an embarrassment and horrible. We gave $85 billion worth of equipment to the Taliban. We had death, so much death and so much horrible destruction. And it was a terrible thing. I think it was the lowest point in the history of our country. Now, with all of that, we can change it and we can make America great again, and that's why I'm doing this.
Well, and you have talked about a lot. We are going to delve into a number of
Okay.
issues you brought up. Talked about all the people coming across the border. Of course, a lot of families also coming across the border as
Sure.
well. I want to talk to you about that a little bit later on. But first, let's talk about the breaking news today. We learned just a short time ago that the president's son, Hunter Biden, was indicted by a federal grand jury on 3 gun charges. Given that, Mr. President, can you continue to say that there are 2 systems of justice?
Well, I think there's no question about it. He had a plea deal that was the deal of the century, the art of the deal. You could write a book on it, the art of the deal. And all of a sudden that was broken up by a judge who was able to, a brilliant judge actually, who was able to see through what was happening. And it's a sad situation. I mean, nobody should be happy about this. I'm not happy about it. Nobody is. It's a very sad thing. It's so bad for our country. But, you know, if you think about it, I've been under investigation from the day I came down the escalator, and a phony investigation, fake investigations, investigations that I beat every single time, still under investigations. But it's a very sad thing, and it's a slippery slope, and dangerous, very dangerous for our country.
But you talked about the plea deal, but now Hunter Biden's been indicted. He's facing very serious charges. So doesn't that undercut your entire argument that there are 2 systems of justice in this
Well,
country?
it's one of 12 charges. There are 12 possible charges.
And he's still
this is
under
the only charge
investigation.
that doesn't affect his father.
Well, he's still under investigation.
Well, sure, maybe. I mean, let's see what happens. But this is the only charge that doesn't affect Joe Biden. This was the gun charge. But gun charges are very serious. You know, people have had gun charges and gone to jail for a lot of years. I pardoned some people who I thought it was just horrible what happened, but they were put in jail for many, many years, rappers and others. So, look, it's a bad thing, but it's one of 12. And it's the one charge that doesn't affect Joe Biden.
Well, of course, there's no evidence that the president has any link to his son's business dealings. Let me ask you, though, about a second.
I don't necessarily agree. He called in. You mean he called in all these meetings? He was calling in the meetings. He was put on speakerphone, and every single day, and
the witness
literally
testified.
many calls. And what about the fact that he got rid of the prosecutor for $1 billion?
Well, the witness
you don't
testified.
get rid of this prosecutor. We're not giving you $1 billion to Ukraine. He said that. I mean, there are a lot of things here.
Mr. President, the witness who testified, though, said that he never heard any discussion of business when President Biden was put on the
Well,
phone.
wait. You saw the prosecutor thing on television, because I saw it on your network. He said, you don't get rid of this prosecutor, I'm not giving $1 billion.
That was looked into as well, and as you know, there was
Oh,
never
come on.
any wrongdoing.
If I ever said that, quid pro quo.
Let's move on to what a second Trump term would look like.
Sure.
Then I switched to Liberty Mutual and saved hundreds. I know, exactly.
When you launched your campaign in March,
I don't hear music
crowd,
made
quote,
after 89.
retribution. What does that mean? What does that look like?
I think retribution is talking in terms of I have to protect people. What they're doing to people is
Nigga, I
so
ain't-
horrible. They're putting people in jail for
Listen,
long
nothing
periods
made
of
in the
time.
90s.
Firemen, policemen,
I got all
accountants,
kinds of snacks right here.
even lawyers. They're in prisons.
I ain't gonna lie, from the after school
years
program,
and
I grabbed me a
even
handful of
trials in
snacks
some
too,
cases.
cause
And if you look at Antifa
I
and other
definitely need
groups,
to have a word
practically
beside
nothing happened to them. They burned down Portland, they burned down Minneapolis, they took over Seattle. I mean, they literally took over a big chunk of the city. People died and nothing happened to them. We have to protect all people.
But when you talk
That is
about
the last water out the
you're
pack.
talking
I
about
gotta bring another
directing
pack of
your
water
Attorney
up here.
General to try to go after the political
When I talk about retribution, I'm talking about fairness. We have to treat people fairly. These people on January 6th, some of them never even went into the building and they're being given sentences of, many years.
Are you going to
And nothing is happening. Well, I'm going to look at them, and I certainly might if I think it's appropriate. No, it's a very, very sad thing, and they're dividing the country so badly, and it's very dangerous.
Well, Mr. President, we're going to delve into that a little bit later on, but I want to stay on this idea of what you mean by retribution. Are you looking to appoint an attorney general who will prosecute the people you tell them to prosecute?
I'm looking to appoint an attorney general who's going to be tough on crime and fair. person.
And go after your political enemies?
No, I would never do that. But Biden has done that. Look, Biden, these aren't indictments against him. These are Biden indictments. This isn't God coming down and very fairly saying, oh, you spoke badly about an election. The election was rigged. There's no question about that. There's so much proof on it. Even if you go to the more modern day proof with the, they call it Twitter files, FBI and Twitter, or you take a look at the Amazon stuff or the Google stuff, or you take a look at 2000 Mules, you take a look at all of the ballot stuffing that's on tape, you take a look at the fact that the legislatures didn't approve a lot of the things that were done in the elections and they had to approve. And we could go on forever. We could go on forever. But no, I want somebody that's going to be strong, respected, tough, and fair.
Just to go back to a couple of the points you said, the ballot stuffing, that's something that's been debunked.
It hasn't
As
been
you
debunked.
know,
It's on camera.
But I do want to keep moving forward.
Yeah,
And
but
of course,
Kristen, it's on camera. Hundreds and even thousands and thousands of people. You take a look. True the vote. Take a look. It's on camera.
but Mr. President,
They have
you know,
thousands of
Republican
pictures.
officials
But
and
I know,
top
but
law
Kristen, you
enforcement
can't say
officials
that.
have
They have
told you that
thousands
that's
of pictures
debunked.
of people. I know you have to say that for your network, but you shouldn't say it. Because that's the problem.
But Mr.
The
President,
news has lost such power.
Let's stay on track, though, Mr. President. Let's
But
stay
no,
on
but
track.
you're
with
saying
this
to
question.
be, it hasn't. We have thousands of essentially motion pictures of people stuffing the ballot boxes.
But Mr.
Tens
President,
of thousands.
they're not stuffing the ballot boxes, and you've been told that by your top law enforcement officials. But let's stay on track because we have so much ground to cover.
You have
We have
people that went
policy ground
and
to
voted
cover.
in one place, another place, another place, as many as I understand, 28 different places in one day with 7, 8, 9 ballots apiece. They can't do anymore because it would look too phony. These were professional people. They were stuffing the ballot boxes. It's there. I mean, it's there to
You took
see.
your
A lot of
case
people
to
don't
court,
like looking at it.
60 different cases all across the country. You lost that, but let's stay on track.
We
because
lost
have
because the
so
judges
many-
didn't want to hear them.
Mr. President,
But if
so
this,
many
if
topics.
this were ever before a court, we would win so easy. There is so much evidence that the election was rigged. And you may not even put the section on your show, and you'll have to decide what you want to do. But people know it was rigged. Look, the media,
Mr. President,
when I
there's
first
no
got
evidence
involved
of
in
that.
politics,
As you know, there's no evidence of that. You have so many different topics.
tremendous evidence.
I want to talk about what a
Listen, let me ask you this.
Mr.
You agree
President-
there was Twitter files, right?
Mr. President,
You agree there were 51 intelligence agents that lied. You agree with
I'm
that?
not the one who's being interviewed. Let's
Well, no,
stay
but-
on track
I know,
because
but
I want to talk about
that's rigging the
policy,
election.
because that's what voters want to hear about, Mr. President. Let's talk about what's happening on Capitol Hill
Go ahead.
right now.
Go ahead.
Speaker McCarthy announced that he was launching an impeachment inquiry this week into President Biden. Do you see this as a part of the retribution that you see?
No, not at all. I think, look, you look at the terrible things that have been happening with respect to Biden. Look at everything. Jimmy Comer, Jim Jordan are fantastic people and very legitimate people. I watched Jamie Comer just a little while ago talking about a lot of different facets of what's going on. And he was the one that said, I guess there are 12 things where it looks like it's stone cold guilty. And the gun charge is only one of the 12. He said this is the only one that doesn't implicate Joe Biden.
So, but my question for you, did you talk to Speaker McCarthy about this House impeachment
No,
inquiry?
no, I
Did
don't
you
talk to him.
tell him that he should open a House
No, I
impeachment
don't do
inquiry?
that. I don't think he'd do that. I mean, he wouldn't do it based on me, no.
Did you
No.
talk to your Republican allies on Capitol Hill and say you should support this?
No, I don't have to
inquiry?
talk. They're more proactive than I am. They think it's terrible. I will say this, they think I was treated very unfairly. I mean, when I was impeached for a perfect phone call, and now it turned out to be perfect, I hope you will admit that at least, because I was right, 100% right. But I was impeached for a perfect phone call. And how sad that is. And we had 196 to nothing vote for Republicans. Very unusual for the Republican Party. I was so proud of them. 196, the entire House, not one person dissented. And then other than Romney, who sort of gave me half a vote, but we had 100% in the Senate. People think I was treated very unfairly.
Well, the people who
And
voted,
I know I was
the
treated.
people who voted for that impeachment say that the phone call that you referenced was about a quid pro quo.
It was perfect.
But
My phone call was perfect. My phone call was saying, please investigate any crimes that you see. And by the way, I'm mandated to do that as the President of the United States. And it was really a call to congratulate him on winning the election. But
Mr. President, let's...
no, when you talk about quid pro quo, please don't talk about quid pro quo, because there was none in the call at all. Where there's
That
a
was
quid
the
pro,
heart.
where there is a
That was the
quid
heart
pro
of
quo
that impeachment.
was when Biden said very strongly, we're not going to give them the $1 billion unless they get rid of the prosecutor. That's a quid pro quo.
Mr. President, let me take a step back here, because a lot of voters say what they want to talk about right now is your vision for the future.
Sure.
And I've been traveling to a lot of the early voting states, and they say that your focus on the past is a problem for them. What do you say to those voters?
I have no focus on the past, except that you have to learn from history. You have to learn from the past. We had an election that was very, very terrible. It was a terrible thing for our country. And you have to learn from that. You can't forget that and just go. Now, with all of the things that we said, I had the best economy maybe in history.
We're going to talk about it next.
Right.
So let's say
I had the best economy in history, and I'm going to do it again. I had the best energy. We were energy independent, soon to be energy dominant. Now we're begging for energy. I mean, what they've done to this country, they're destroying our country.
We're going to talk about the economy in just a minute. But before we move on from Capitol Hill, do you think Republican hardliners should abandon their threat to shut down the government over their spending priorities now that there is this impeachment?
No, I think if they don't get a fair deal, we have to save our country. We're $35 trillion in debt. We have to save our
So
country.
you would shut down the government? You'd support that?
I'd shut down the government if they can't make an appropriate deal, absolutely.
Okay, let's talk about the economy. And I want to start by talking about this big standoff between the auto workers and the big three auto manufacturers. My question for you, Mr. President, whose side are you on in this?
I'm on the side of making our country great. The auto workers are not going to have any jobs when you come right down to it, because if you take a look at what they're doing with electric cars are going to be made in China. The auto workers are not going to have any, I'll tell you what, the auto workers are being sold down the river by their leadership, and their leadership should endorse Trump. The reason is, you gotta have choice. Like in school, I want school choice. I also want choice for cars. If somebody wants gasoline, if somebody wants all electric, they can do whatever they want. But they're destroying the consumer, and they're destroying the auto workers. The auto workers will not have any jobs, Kristen, because all of these cars are going to be made in China. The electric cars automatically are going to be made in China.
So let's talk about UAW's leadership. The president, Sean Fain, has withheld his endorsement of President Biden. But this is what he had to say about you. Quote, another Donald Trump presidency would be a disaster. How would you win that endorsement?
Well, if that's the case, I probably won't win his. I don't know the gentleman, but I know his name very well. And I think he's not doing a good job in representing his union, because he's not going to have a union in 3 years from now. Those jobs are all going to be gone because all of those electric cars are going to be made in China. That's what's happening, number one. Number two, the electric cars are much more expensive, and they don't go far enough. So if somebody wants to take a little bit of a long, just like the trucks, if somebody wants to take a little bit of a long ride, let's go to Maine, or let's go to Kentucky from New York. You can't do it. I mean, you have to stop all the time. They don't go far enough. They're very expensive. They have a lot of drawbacks. Now, with that being said, some people are going to want them. Some people are going to travel short distances. What they're doing with our trucking industry is a disaster, because they want all electric trucks. And a truck with a large tank, large gasoline or diesel capacity, can go up to 2,000 miles. An electric truck goes 300 miles. So what are these guys going to do? They're going to stop every 300 miles and recharge their truck and spend 3 hours?
Let's move on and talk about another big picture issue when it comes to the economy. The issue of interest rates, inflation, something that you've talked a lot about.
Yeah.
The Federal Reserve is obviously independent, but I wonder, Mr. President, if you are re-elected, would you direct your Federal Reserve chair to lower interest rates?
Well, you know that I put a lot of pressure on him. It was outside pressure because nobody knows whether or not you can really do that, but I did because I thought his interest rates were too high, and he ultimately dropped his interest rates. The same gentleman, as you know. But it was a lot of pressure. I mean, I was very active on that. Right now, interest rates are very high. They're too high. People can't buy homes. They can't do anything. I mean, they can't borrow money. The banks don't have the money. The banks aren't lending the monies. The banks, by the way, Chase Manhattan Bank, Bank of America, they discriminate against conservatives. It's a disgrace, and they shouldn't be allowed to. And I'm going to do something about that. But you take a look at banks throughout the country, and I think because of the regulators, but you take a look at Bank of America and Chase, they discriminate against conservatives and Republicans. Oh, we'll give you plenty of evidence.
Okay, all right, well, let's stay on track with this question, though. So just to be very clear, if you were reelected, would you direct your Fed chair to lower interest rates?
It depends. Depends where inflation is. But I would get inflation down because drill we must. We will be drilling for oil. We are going to become, again, energy independent. We are going to reduce our debt because we're also going to become energy dominant. You know, we were ready to go dominant within a matter of months. We would have been making so much money. We have more oil, I call it liquid gold, under our feet than any other country. Saudi Arabia, Russia, there's no country with more, and it's sweet. It's the finest. We have the best. You know, we're taking it from Venezuela. You know what it is? Tar. It's the worst.
Mr. President, are you going to appoint a new Fed chair if you're reelected?
Well, I guess he would have 2 years left or something like that, so we'll see.
Okay, all right.
You know the word jawboning? I did a lot of jawboning against him, and he ultimately lowered interest rates. We had low interest rates. We had the best housing market ever. We had people buying homes. Today, people can't buy homes.
Economists are looking at some of the figures right now. The fact that the unemployment rate is at 3.8%. And they say it looks like the U.S. may not dip into a recession. What do you make of that assessment?
Oh, I don't know. People are going to, they say that, and then you end up in a depression. They say you're going to do great, you end up bad. And the opposite. Most of them don't know what they're doing. It's a touch, it's a feel. And I predicted a lot of markets. I predicted a lot of things, frankly. You know, you say Trump was right about everything. I think that the way it's going now, you're going to have to, things are not going right now very well for the consumer. Bacon is up 5 times. Food is up horribly, worse than energy. Energy is starting to go up at a level that we haven't seen in a long time, meaning a couple of years since he took over, because I had energy prices very low. I had gasoline very low. We have to get the energy down, which they will never do. And they kept it artificial because they took the strategic reserves, which I had a lot to do with filling up for the first time ever. They took these strategic reserves and he issued it to everybody so that he could keep the gas prices down. Now, strategic reserves are at the lowest level they've ever been at, and we need that for war.
And there are a lot of factors that have contributed to it.
Well, no, the big factor is the fact that he took that oil.
Let's talk about taxes.
He took that and he wanted to have low gas prices for an election, and now we have nothing left.
Mr. President, there are a lot of factors, including global factors, that went into that. Let's talk about taxes, though.
I don't know why people stick up for him so much when he makes bad decisions like you. I don't know why, and I have a lot of respect for you, and you were very fair in the debate, but I don't know why you and other people say, oh, it's okay that he destroyed the strategic petroleum reserves. I mean, why do you do that? Or it's okay that he has open borders. Somebody was in your position, not quite as good, said this morning, oh, having open borders is a wonderful thing. I don't know why, and I think that's why the media has lost so much credibility.
We're just having a conversation. Let me talk to you about taxes and your differences with President Biden over taxes.
Sure.
He wants to raise corporate tax rates to 28%. It's reported you want to lower them to 15%. Is that true?
I'd like to lower them a little bit if we could, but what I want to do is we have to get some income coming in. You know, when I lowered taxes, we took in more revenue.
To 15%?
You know that when it depends on where we are at the time. You know, a lot happens in a year. But when I lowered taxes, I cut taxes tremendously, created tremendous jobs. But more importantly, we had more revenue with lower taxes than we did with higher taxes.
You also added $8 trillion to the national debt. Your GOP challenger, Nikki Haley, made that point, saying, quote, the truth is that Biden didn't do this to us, Republicans did this to us. Does she have a point?
We had a thing happen to us. We had the greatest economy in history, and then we got hit with COVID. And we had to keep this beautiful thing going. And if I didn't do that, if we didn't put some money in, nobody knew what COVID was. Remember, this was a new thing that came in. Somebody said it's dust coming in from China. It came from China. They tried and denied it, or they tried for a little while, and we didn't let it. It came from Wuhan, actually, which now they agree. Everybody's now agreeing that it came from Wuhan. I said that years ago. But we had to do things that were very severe. We had to let some money come out. We were on the verge of doing something that was amazing. we were going to have energy at a level bigger than Russia and Saudi Arabia combined. That energy was going to be sold to Europe and all other places. The prices would have come down. We were going to make a fortune, and we were going to start paying off debt. Instead, we got hit with COVID. People didn't need oil because nobody was driving all over the world. I mean, frankly, it was a disaster. What China did to the world with COVID is something that we're going to get to the bottom of, and they have to pay something back. You know, nobody can pay back the cost of all those lives and all the money that was lost, but nobody can pay back the lives and all of the damage that was caused,
But
including China. But you know what? They have to pay something back. They have to do something.
What do you say to her?
What does Nikki Haley know? I mean, I know Nikki Haley very well. She said, I'm the greatest president. She left, she said, I'm the greatest president. Now she's running for office and she says something. Look, Nikki Haley doesn't know anything about it. She's a politician. She knows nothing about it. Very nice woman. Well, some people like that, I would say. But she left office. She said very strongly, I will never run. He was a great president. And then in some cases said the greatest president of my lifetime. In one case said the greatest president ever. Now she's running. Nikki Haley has nothing to do with this. We were going to make a fortune off our energy. We were going to send the energy to Europe. Europe was going to pay us tremendous amounts of money. And I'll tell you, you would have never had the Ukraine monster at all. It would have never happened. Russia would have never got, just by sheer force of personality. But beyond personality, what happened is when oil hit $100 a barrel, and by the way, it's right there right now again, Putin makes a fortune on this war. You know, everybody said, oh, he can't afford it. If Biden allowed my policies to stay in place, oil would right now be at $40 a barrel, and Putin wouldn't be able to afford the war.
We are going to get to the war in Ukraine, but first I do want to talk about the issue of abortion, which is important to a lot of voters all across the country. Just this week, women in Idaho and Tennessee, I don't know if you saw this, filed suit against their state saying their lives were put at risk after they were denied abortion services because their state's restrictive laws put in place after Roe was overturned. So my question for you, Mr. President, is how is it acceptable in America that women's lives are at risk, doctors are being forced to turn away patients in need, or risk breaking a law?
Ready?
Rap music. Or hip hop music, rather. I'm telling you, man, every commercial be using like some hip hop shit.
I hope you have time. I'm here for
That was a Red Robin commercial. What do y'all need that kind of music for? You could have a banjo band playing some folk music or.
Roe v. Wade, I did something that nobody thought was possible, and Roe v. Wade was terminated, was put back to the states. Now, people, pro-lifers, have the right to negotiate for the first time. They had no rights at all. Because the radical people on this are really the people, the Democrats, that say after 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, 9 months, and even after birth, you're allowed to terminate the baby.
Democrats aren't saying that. I just have to. Democrats are not saying that.
Of course
That's
they do.
not true.
You have a Virginia governor, previous governor, who said after the baby is born, you will make a determination, and if you want, you will kill that baby. The baby is now born.
Democrats writ large are not talking about that. Only 1% of late-term abortions happen always in this state of
They are the radical people, because nobody wants to see abortion after 5 months and 6 months and 7 months. And now it gave people that believe in pro-life, look, just so you understand, it's pretty much 50-50. It's a 50-50 issue, amazing. If you look at the charts, it's been 49-51, it's been like that for many years, goes both ways, 51, both ways. Ready? I was able to do something which gave at least pro-life people a voice. Now it's going to work out. Now the number of months will be determined, and you're going to have something where everybody comes together.
Does it bother you, though, that women say their lives are being put at risk? Do you feel you bear any responsibility? Because as you say, you are responsible.
What's going to happen, this is an issue that's been going on for a long time, and it's a very polarizing issue. Because of what's been done, and because of the fact we brought it back to the states, we're going to have people come together on this issue. They're going to determine the time, because nobody wants to see 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 months. Nobody wants to see abortions when you have a baby in the womb. I said with Hillary Clinton when we had the debate, I made a statement, rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month. You're allowed to do that, and you shouldn't be allowed to do that.
Again, no one is arguing for that. That's not a part of anyone's platform, Mr.
The
President.
Democrats are able to kill the baby after birth.
Let me talk to you.
Nobody wants that.
Democrats don't want that.
So we're going to come together.
I want to know what you want. I want to know what you're going to do with your
We are going to come
Would you
together.
sign federal legislation that would ban abortion at 15 weeks?
No, let me just tell you what I do. I'm going to come together with all groups, and we're going to have something that's acceptable. Right now, to my way of thinking, the Democrats are the radicals. Because after 4 and 5 and 6 months, but you have to say this, after birth. You have New York State and other places that pass legislation where you're allowed to kill the baby after birth.
Mr. President, I want to give voters who are going to be weighing in on this election a very clear sense of
I
where
think
you stand on
they're all going to like me. I think both sides are going to like me.
What's
going to have to happen is you're going to have to, listen, you're asking me a question. What's going to happen is you're going to come up with a number of weeks or months. You're going to come up with a number that's going to make people happy. Because 92% of the Democrats don't want to see abortion after a certain period of time.
If a federal ban landed on your desk, if you were reelected, would you sign it at 15?
Are you talking about a complete ban?
A ban at 15 weeks?
Well, people are starting to think of 15 weeks. That seems to be a number that people are talking about right now.
Would you sign that?
I would sit down with both sides and I'd negotiate something, and we'll end up with peace on that issue for the first time in 52 years. I'm not going to say I would or I wouldn't. I mean, DeSantis is willing to sign a 5-week and 6-week ban.
Would you support that? You think that
I think what he did is a terrible thing and a terrible mistake. But we'll come up with a number. But at the same time, Democrats won't be able to go out in 6 months, 7 months, 8 months and allow an abortion. And Kristen, you have to look at this because you said no. You have some states that are allowed to kill the child after birth, and you can't allow that.
But Mr. President, again, no one is calling for a child to be killed after birth. No one's calling for that
But
to
you
be
have
allowed.
legislation.
But let me just ask you.
Kristen, you have legislation in certain states where it's allowed.
Mr. President.
The governor of Virginia, previous governor, who was a whack job, I call him the Michael Jackson governor.
No one's talking
that
about
governor,
their platform. I want to know what
that governor said you can kill the baby after birth.
But Mr. President, this is about what you would do if you were reelected. As you know, you upset
We will agree to a number of weeks, which will be where both sides will be happy. We have to bring the country together on this issue.
Mr. President, when you talk about negotiating, I think a lot of people think to themselves, this is an issue that they care about deeply in their hearts. They know where they stand, and they want to know where you stand. As you know, some anti-abortion groups are really looking for some clarity from you. So let me just ask you to put a fine point on this. Should the federal government impose any abortion restrictions, or should it be completely left up to the states?
No, I don't think you should be allowed to have abortions well into a pregnancy.
But what about the question I just asked
We're going to agree to a number of weeks or months or however you want to define it. And both sides are going to come together. And both sides, and this is a big statement, both sides will come together. And for the first time in 52 years, you'll have an issue that we can put behind us.
At the federal level?
It could be state or it could be federal. I don't frankly care.
So you're not committed to a ban at the federal level?
I will say this, everybody, including the great legal scholars, love the idea of Roe v. Wade terminated so it be brought back to the states.
It sounds like that's what you think too, that it should remain a state issue.
I would say this, from a pure standpoint, from a legal standpoint, I think it's probably better, but I can live with it either way. It's much more important. The number of weeks is much more important. But something will happen with the number of weeks, the amount of time, after which you can't do it. And you know what? The most powerful people that are anti-abortion are okay with that now. And you know what? They weren't okay with that even a year ago.
Your former Vice President, Mike Pence, believes that a fetus should have constitutional rights. Do you believe that, Mr.
Well,
President?
Mike Pence said something about 15 weeks, too, which was a big change for Mike Pence because Mike Pence had no exceptions. I have exceptions, by the way. I think people should have exceptions. I think if it's rape or incest or the life of the mother, I think you have to have exceptions.
Does the fetus have constitutional rights,
And
Mr.
a lot of
President?
people, when they don't have exceptions. Now, I will tell you that I think most people, most Republicans are willing. You go life of the mother, rape, incest. I think most of them are there.
But should a
That's a
fetus
big
have
statement.
constitutional rights, Mr. President?
Well, I don't know what he's saying, because before he wanted, you couldn't have abortion.
But what are you saying?
Now all of
What
a
do
sudden,
you think?
excuse me, now all of a sudden he's saying 15 weeks. I said, wow, where did that come from? That's a radical change. Look, something is going to happen that's going to be good for everybody. And that's what I'm almost like a mediator in this case. They wanted Roe v. Wade terminated because it was inappropriate. We got it done. Something's going to happen. It's going to be a number of weeks. Something's going to happen where both sides are going to be able to come together. And then we'll be able to go into other things like the economy, our military.
Are you saying a federal ban with exceptions? Is that what you're saying?
What I say is very simple, because you can't put words in my mouth like that.
I
Because
just
you've been
want to
hearing me talk
understand.
about this issue, and
Yeah.
I think talk about it very productively. It could be a state ban, it could be a federal ban, but Democrats want that too. Democrats don't want to see abortion in the 7th month, okay? I speak to a lot of Democrats. They want a number. There is a number, and there's a number that's going to be agreed to. And Republicans should go out and say the following, because I think the Republicans speak very inarticulately about this subject. I watched some of them without the exceptions, et cetera, et cetera. I said, other than certain parts of the country, you're not going to win on this issue. But you will win on this issue when you come up with the right number of weeks, because Democrats don't want to be radical on the issue. Most of them, some do. They don't want to be radical on the issue. They don't want to kill a baby in the 7th month or the 9th month or after birth. And they're allowed to do that, and you can't do that.
I have a very robust foreign policy section to get to.
Okay.
I do want to give you an opportunity to talk about some of your legal challenges. So if we could do that first, and then we'll move on to foreign policy. You are facing 4 indictments.
Biden indictments, excuse me, Biden political indictments. He said to the
He has
Attorney
said he's had
General,
nothing to do
he
with
said
it.
to the
There's no
Attorney
proof of
General,
that.
indict him. They put in the
there's
New
no
York
proof of
DA
that,
case,
Mr.
which
President.
everybody
There's
admits
no
isn't even a
proof of
case.
that, Mr.
Excuse me.
President.
They're
No,
Biden
there's no
indictments.
proof of that.
You know what? He started something that's a very slippery slope. He said, I've got a guy that's beating me in the polls. I'm beating all the Republicans by a lot, and I'm beating him by a lot. I have somebody that's beating me in the polls. Indict him. And they, not only that, they took their top person in the Department of Justice and put him into the Manhattan DA's office. They're dealing with Fannie Willis all the time.
Mr. President, the
These are
Attorney
political
General
indictments.
appointed a special counsel to investigate you, President Biden, and President Biden's son Hunter, who was also indicted today. But I do want
President
to
Biden
move.
does not fall within the Presidential Records Act. And frankly, you don't ever hear anything about the special counsel. But they gave me this deranged person named Jack Smith. He's a deranged lunatic. I fall within the Presidential Records Act. It's very simple. It's a civil thing. In fact, the New York Times, of all institutions, did a story. And it was headlined, "Please, please, please, Mr. President, could we take a look at the documents?" And they said in the story that the only way you can get documents from a president is if you go there and say please, because this is civil. And they won't even have a lawsuit. They may have a civil lawsuit at most, but they probably don't even have a civil lawsuit. And this should never have been an indictment. There's no criminal. Now, there is criminal for Joe Biden because he was a senator and he was a vice president.
Well, the charges
And
are
as a
facing don't
senator
have
and a
anything
vice
to do with
president-
the Presidential Records Act. But let me ask my question so we can get to foreign
Wait a
policy.
minute. This comes
Let's-
within the Presidential Records
Let me
Act.
ask.
That's what it's about. It's
Let me
about
just
records.
ask these questions, and then we can move on to some other topics. You are facing 4 indictments, 91 felony
If you would
charges.
say it properly, I'm facing 4 Biden indictments. He told the Justice Department to indict him, or Merrick Garland said, let's indict him.
Let me ask you this, Mr.
They
President.
indicted their political
I
opponent.
just want to hear from you on this. I want to know what's in your head. When you go to bed at night, do you worry about going to jail?
No, I don't, really. I don't even think about it. I'm built a little differently, I guess, because I have had people come up to me and say, how do you do it, sir? How do you do it? I don't even think about it. These are corrupt people that I'm dealing with. They're destroying our country. I don't even think about it. All I think about is making the country great, making America great. Look, these are these are Banana Republic indictments. These are third world indictments. The President of the United States sees how we're doing. We have a movement, the likes of which has never happened in this country before. And you see it with the polls. I mean, I'm up on these people by 60 points and 59 points. I don't mean I'm at 59. I'm leading them by 59. You almost say, like, why are they campaigning? Asa Hutchinson, he's at 0. Christie's at 2. Other ones are at 1. DeSanctimonious is at 9. I just see a poll come. I mean, I'm leading him by 60 points.
Mr. President.
And you say, why are they doing it? But here's what they did. They saw this happening. And he went to the Attorney General of the United States, and he told them, indict Trump.
There's just no evidence of that, Mr.
What,
President. But let's stay on track.
Mr.
President, I want to talk
Krista,
about...
wait a minute, wait. Could I say one thing? Look at all the lies he's told over the last couple of weeks. He said he was at the World Trade Center, and he wasn't. He said he flew airplanes, right? He didn't. He said he drove trucks, and he didn't. Everything he says is like a lie. It's terrible.
Mr. President,
even his handicap golf, he said he's a 6. He's not a 6.
I want to stay focused on you for the purposes of this interview, okay? Because it's important that we hear from you about all of this.
Well, I'd like you to, but you keep interrupting me.
Tell me, Mr. President, tell me what you see when you look at your mugshot.
If you don't know about Xfinity Mobile, well, now you do. It's the fastest mobile service around. Save hundreds a year over T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon. And get the best price for 2 lines unlimited. Just $30 a line per month.
I see somebody that loves this country in me, that loves this country. I see tremendous unfairness. I think very few people would have been able to handle what I handled. When I was coming down the escalator with Melania, I was already under investigation because they saw how well I was doing in the polls. And it just got worse and worse. And we caught them. We said they were spying on our campaign. It turned out to be true. They had the fake dossier. That turned out to be true. It was paid for by the Democrat Party. It was all fiction. All of these things happened. Impeachment hoax number 1, impeachment hoax number 2. I've been treated very badly. And I've won every single time. When you say, do I sleep? I sleep. I sleep. Because I truly feel that in the end, we're going to win. I think we're going to win an election the likes of which nobody's ever seen before. I don't think anything's going to stop it. Nothing's going to stop it. Because people see what's happened to our country. We're not respected in the world. Look at other countries. Look at what's happened. Everybody's going to the side of China, Russia, Saudi Arabia.
We're going to talk about that.
No,
Mr. President,
China
I want to delve into foreign policy, but let's get through this, and then I want to talk to you about all of those issues you just talked about, Mr. President. By the way, do you think your former Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, is still loyal to you? He just pleaded not guilty in the trial.
Well, I hope he's loyal to me. I mean,
do you worry about him flipping? Do you worry
I didn't do anything wrong.
Okay, let's talk about Georgia. I want to talk about that phone call that you made to Georgia's Secretary of State, a Republican, Brad Raffensperger.
That was even more perfect than my call to...
Let's talk about it.
The President of Ukraine. Okay. It was a perfect call. Just before you start, many top legal scholars, almost everyone, but many top have analyzed that phone call. That was a phone call made in front of, I guess, 7 or 8 lawyers. Brad Raffensperger, the head, who, by the way, last week said, I didn't do anything wrong. He said that was a negotiation. Brad Raffensperger, who I was dealing with, I appreciate that he said that, but he said last week, I didn't do anything wrong.
Let's talk about it so we can move on. You said in the call...
Let me just tell you one other thing. When I spoke, I knew I was probably being taped. I didn't ask, but I knew I was probably being taped. You know, they illegally tape me because they tape me in Florida. It's a 2-party state. You know that, right? So they illegally taped the call. But forget about that for a second. I knew that there were many lawyers on the phone from the other side. There were many people. There were many people on the phone. When I told them, I said the election was rigged. I said all sorts of things about the election, which I believe it 100%.
They told you it wasn't.
I have all the facts. Look, I have all the facts. In one way, I looked for a trial because it was so dishonest, okay, so rigged, and such a dangerous thing for our country. We have to have borders and we have to have fair elections. We have neither.
But I want to talk about the border. I want to talk about the border, but we have to get through this.
When I spoke in front of Brad Raffensperger, who again last week said I didn't do anything wrong.
Well, it
Brad
sounded like you were
Raffensperger
asking for him to
said it
come up
was
with
a negotiation.
11,000 votes.
No, and you know that. You're terrible when you say this. You're off to a bad start. Because what I said was very simple. I got cheated in this election.
He told you you
And
didn't.
all I need is like 11,000, whatever the number was.
Brad
I got cheated
Raffensperger,
in
who's
the
a
election.
Republican, said you didn't get.
Well, he said that, but we have to go and see. You know, there's some court cases out there. We want to go into Fulton County and we want to see the real votes. And it's so hard.
He said they looked into it. The election had been
They can
certified
look into
3
it. I don't want
times.
them. I want to look into it. I
Mr.
would say
President,
that
the
if we
election
got
had been
access to the votes, which we're close to getting in court, as you know, if we got access to those votes and we look in, you will find numbers that you wouldn't believe. More importantly, though, let me just say this.
I want to get through this, Mr.
Kristen,
President.
you have to just hear me
get
out for
to
1
the
second.
Foreign policy section.
We had, because you say something and then you want to go into the next subject. We had many people on the line. When I said, I spoke for an hour. I knew that many people were on the line. I knew that it was the only, I happen to be a really smart person. Who is going to be talking badly when I have lawyers and many other people on the line? Nobody's going to say something bad, but if it was bad, why didn't they say, sir, that was very inappropriate of you to say? Nobody said that. Nobody said, sir. It was only a long time after the call that somebody said, oh, maybe he said something wrong.
They said,
This
sir,
is a
there's
hoax.
no evidence.
This is a hoax,
that it's
just like
been
Russia,
rigged.
Russia, just like Ukraine. There's a hoax. Let me tell you, I spoke to them on the phone, and it was left, I think, something to the effect, okay, we'll get together tomorrow. Nobody said, sir, you shouldn't speak. If I said something incorrect, one of the lawyers for the state of Georgia, which I love, one of those lawyers would have said, sir, you have to take that back. That's an inappropriate
The
statement.
Republican Secretary
Nobody
of State
that.
said there was no evidence to fraud. He said he looked into it. The election had been certified 3 times
You're
when you made
talking
that
about
call.
a different subject. If I said something wrong in the call, he or one of his many lawyers that were on the call would have said, it's inappropriate what you just said. Nobody said that. We had a normal phone call.
They said there's
This
no
became-
evidence of fraud.
He also said, I did nothing wrong last week.
Do you have any regrets about that call?
No,
Whatsoever?
None whatsoever. I called to complain about an election,
Okay.
and I have every right to do that. Would you say, do you think I have a right to complain about an election?
You have a right to take your case to court, which you did 60 times.
No, I didn't do 60 times. They wouldn't hear it based on all sorts of crazy, they wouldn't hear. We never got a trial. Judges would look at stuff saying, I'm not getting involved. They didn't want to get involved.
Let's keep moving so we get through.
If you take a look at the evidence, we have so much evidence. If you take a look at the evidence, even you I could convince.
You were going to hold that press conference, but you never did with the evidence.
No, because I'm using it in my court case instead.
Okay. I want to ask you about the case related to Mar-a-Lago. A new charge suggests you asked a staffer to delete security camera footage so it wouldn't get into the hands of investigators. Did you
It's
do
false.
that? It's false.
But let me tell you.
Would you testify to that under oath?
I'll testify
You testify to that under oath?
It's a fake charge by this deranged lunatic prosecutor who lost in the Supreme Court 9-0, and he tried to destroy lots of lives. He's a lunatic. So it's a fake charge. But more importantly, the tapes weren't deleted. In other words, there was nothing done to them. And they were my tapes. I could have fought them. I didn't even have to give them the tapes, I don't think. I think I would have won in court. When they asked for the tapes, I said, sure, they're my tapes. I could have fought them. I didn't even have to give them. Just so you understand, though, we didn't delete anything. Nothing was deleted.
So that's false. The people who testified.
Number one, the statement is false. Much more importantly, when the tapes came, and everybody says this, they weren't deleted. We gave them 100%.
Okay.
And just so you know.
You can't out-talk Trump. That motherfucker got the whole gift of gab. Alright. Yo, appreciate y'all chilling in the studio with me, man, checking out the progress on the paintings. And, I don't know, like I said, I've been hesitant to actually get to this point where I'm at now with these paints. But we're just gonna try to knock them out the best we can. So, we got some of the creases and folds in there. So now we're just gonna slowly try to block in this detailing on these pants. So we'll work on the pants, then we'll do the books, and then that'll be a layer of detail on everything. And then we'll come back one more time, tighten up some of the skin tones, maybe add some highlights and fine line brushes. And we're almost done with this shit, son. Pants not looking too bad though. I can live with that for right now. Alright. Might stream some video games tonight. I'll be saying that shit all the time. But I might stream video games tonight for real. I'll get with y'all next time, y'all. Peace.